Well, welcome Northeast Missouri Angler, and as you can see, it's a little snowy. Everything's covered in snow. My poor wife's little car can't even get out this morning, so she took my truck. So that means it's about not going and doing anything. Stuck here at the house. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in the shop here, and I'm going to go through some things I do in the winter time when I have to take a break from fishing because Mother Nature won't cooperate. Stick around. Okay, we're here in the shop. I'll talk to you a little bit about some of the gear I use and maintenance, stuff like that. When it's snowy and blowy outside, and if you're in an area like I am, where we get weather where it doesn't get hard enough really to ice fish, but it gets weather, even though the water's open right now, I can't get around to get up and down the boat ramps and everything with my two-wheel drive. So I'm kind of limited on when I can fish through the winter. Just try to hope for a good day you can get out here and there. So what I do is in the winter times, I go through all my gear, all my equipment. I go through my boat, take everything out of the boat. I'm lucky enough to have a shop that it's heated, and I can take everything out and go through it all and whatnot pretty comfortably. Before I had my heated shop, I'd grab my tackle box and whatnot, any boxes with gear and bags and stuff, and I take them in my house and spread it all throughout the floor and go through it all, get rid of stuff that's maybe rusted up or it's broke and whatnot. I just threw it back in the bag rather than got rid of it at the time. So go through all your gear, clean out your boxes, sort things back out. Anybody who does a lot of fishing knows when you're fishing sometimes you'll use something and decide to change to a different lure or jig or whatever the case may be, and you just kind of throw it in the box anywhere. So I go through all that, sort it all out, and get it organized again. Another thing I do is check my rods and reels. Are my rods in good condition? Is there any eyelets that are broke? If you have rods that have the ceramic on the inside of the eyes, do they need replaced? Has the ceramic broke out? Another thing to check on them is on the very tips of your rod eyelets. Check them, make sure the line over time can actually cut a groove in there, and when you're reeling fish in and out, it can actually cut your line and mar your line up. So check that too, see if they need to replace your tips. Are your reels in good condition? Do you need to take them apart and put light grease where it needs to be greased, or oil what needs to be oiled? Is the line in good condition? Do you need to replace line? All them things, just little things like that. That way when you do start fishing in the spring, you don't have to stop and take time out to do that. You can just fish then, because all that stuff's been taken care of. Most line will last for a long time if you buy a big spool. The biggest thing about line is keep it out of the sunlight. UV rays will break down line in a heartbeat. Won't take long at all, and it won't be any good. So if you do buy a line and you store it in a place where it's out of the sunlight, and preferably put it in a bag or something. What I tend to do, if I know I'm gonna store it for a long time, I'll actually vacuum seal it. Use like a vacuum sealer you can buy at Walmart or whatnot for like $30 in the box of the baggy things, and suck all the air out of it too. And then store it inside a bag or a box or something. Either in a closet or in your garage on a shelf, something out of the sun, and where the light doesn't directly impact it. Okay, let's talk catfish gear. What do I use? Well, a few years back I started using these Catmax reels from Bass Pro. They got a good price on them. They're relatively inexpensive for a bait cast reel for catfishing. They do have a bait clicker on them. I never use mine, but they do have them if you do like to use them. As far as rods go, I'm a big fan of Silver Cat Elites. I like the extra long handle, and also like the metal rod seat, the aluminum rod seat. Also, it's got a double locking nut. I've heard people complain on some of the forums and whatnot that these come loose on these B&Ms. What I found is on any reel seat that has a double nut on it, crank the first one down and get it tight, and then take some thread seal tape and put on there, and then put your other nut on, and that'll lock it in so it won't ever come loose. Pretty much as far as line goes on my rod and reels, I use 40 or 60 pound on most of them. I got 30 on a couple. Most of mine are 60 pound, and I use a 40 pound leader line usually. But yeah, and of course I modify mine because I use black lights at night, so I painted them up so they shine. The black lights make them pop. Reel I started using last spring. I bought two of them just to try them out. I've got more of them now. It's the PC Fun. This is the Chaos 60. It has a 5.3 to 1 gear ratio, 6 to 1 ball bearings, and it has 22 pounds of drag on this reel, which is a lot for this size reel. It comes with a power handle. They cast them ultra smooth. I have no complaints. I really like these. I know a lot of guys like using the Abu, the C3 catfish specials or whatnot. Hey, not everybody can afford $160 to $200 a reel. Sometimes you can find them about $150. These are really affordable. I know PC Fun, they put out promos all the time. A lot of times you can find these for around $50, give or take it. I think the regular price on them is like $68. I looked today on Amazon early this morning, and you can get them on Amazon for $58, and through Prime you got free shipping, which is cheaper than you can get it on their website. But really good reel, highly impressed with it. This is one of them that definitely I wouldn't think twice about getting one. If I needed another reel, it's definitely right there towards the top. The other reel that I liked, I couldn't get Chaoses this summer because they were out of stock for quite a while, and I went ahead and got a Cast King. This is the 50R from Cast King. It's basically an Abu clone. There's really no difference. Even the line guide is the metal like on an Abu. But it casts good. It's a smooth reel. It's kind of small for a lot of the catfish rods. If you use like Rip and Lick rods, Silver Cat Elites, Hyper Cats, Ozark, Meat Hunters, Slime Cats, the major manufacturers for catfish medium heavy rods. To me, the 50's a little small, and the next size up's a little big. The cast good and everything. It's just the frame's just a little smaller than the Chaos 60. Other than that, operation-wise, they're pretty equal. I like the Chaos a little more because it comes with a power handle, to where the Cast King comes with just the regular standard handle. As far as, like I said, rods, I really like the Silver Cat Elites. If you're in an area where you're catching a lot of channel cats, say, just fish in general, to 3 pound, let's say 15 pounds and under. Hyper Cat from Hog makes this rod here. It's a 7-foot rod, a 7.6 rod, excuse me. It's a medium heavy, what they call medium heavy, but it's a smaller, lighter weight rod. It's got a good long handle on it, and it's got stainless steel eyes. And it's relatively inexpensive. I think I paid like $50 for this one. It was like $49.99 with tax. I like it for like when I'm catching channel cats with stink bait, or I know I'm not going to get into anything really big, over 15 pounds or so. I use it. Let's say you're not into bait casters, okay, and you use spinning rods. Maybe you haven't had a bait caster, or some of them can be kind of expensive. Maybe you're just not comfortable casting them. Some people can't cast them, and that's fine. Don't let that stop you from fishing. Just because you see somebody else using them doesn't mean you have to. And you prefer spinning setups. This is one of my bigger fish rods. what this is a hog hypercat again. This is their medium heavy in 7'6". These tend to be on the spinning side. They are heavier than the casting side by far. I mean, you can just see the difference in the size of these two. And they're both medium heavy. They're both 7.5. It's just a bigger, heavier blank. And these do show up on a black light, and they pop. They look like lightsabers when you put a black light on them, these yellow rods. It has the metal reel seat, aluminum reel seat, nice long handle. It's a heavy, heavy rod. And then for I've got the matching reels that also made by Hog. And this one is the OX 680. It's a monster reel. These will cast a mile. They got a good drag on them. And I got 2 of these. And this is kind of what I put my big baits on when I'm going after big fish. The rods are just really heavy. And on this setup here, you're looking, I think the rods were $69 and the reel was like $39 or $49. So you got $100 wrapped up in this. Okay, let's say you don't have, $60 for a reel and, $70 for a rod. You can't spend that much money. So what options is there out there for you on a budget? Okay, you got several options out there of inexpensive rod and reels. Keep in mind, you get into stuff like this, a lot of this is creature comfort. You can get by a lot cheaper, catch big fish, and for a lot less money if you don't have the money. You don't have to be big spender. Go out there, everybody knows them. All their rods are all the same, all the reels are the same, all that. I don't have that on mine. I mean, I got some nice rod and reels, but I don't have enough money where I can go out and buy 3 or 6 rod and reels all at once and spend $400 or $500 on 3 rods. Let's say you're just beginning to fish, but you want a rod and reel that'll handle bigger fish in case you do catch them, but you don't want to spend an arm and a leg either on catfishing. Say you're new to it, you just want to try it and see if it works. This right here is a medium heavy Eagle Claw. It's called their Cat Claw rod. It's a cheaper rod. I think they're $29 is all these are. It's an 8-foot, I believe. Yeah, it's an 8-foot casting. And then just an 808. The 808s have probably caught more big catfish than any other reel on the market. I mean, they've been around forever. A lot of times when you start out fishing with the little kids poles and whatnot, those are 202s. This is just a 202 or a kiddie pole on steroids is all an 808 is. Guys use these 808s. They put big heavy cord line on them and use them bow fishing. They reel them up and then they hit the button and then they shoot them, and pull in monster fish like that. And then this cheaper rod. So the whole setup there, you can find these reels. A lot of times you can find these at yard sales. You can find them at flea markets, all kinds of places if you don't want to spend the money on a new one. A new one, I think when I bought these 2 years ago, I think they were $29 or $39 for this 808. $39 just 808. If you find one that has the all metal, it's a full metal reel, not plastic in the back, they're going to be a little higher than the ones that are plastic. This one's all plastic, and we got 10 for the front piece. These will hold line up to 50 pounds. I have no problem with them using line up to 50 pounds on them. I think they come with 30 pound when you buy them. They're already spooled. But this rod here, I still use it. It's one of the extras when I fish tournaments or whatnot. I got more people in the boat, so they don't have enough rods. I get it out and use it. This rod, I know for a fact, has caught multiple 20 to 30 pound fish with no problems whatsoever. The biggest difference between the bait cast, the spinning, and this one is this has the worst drag. It still has a drag, but it mars the line. It's harder on the line and whatnot. It isn't as smooth. It'll cast a long ways as long as you don't put too big a line on there. But it's just creature comforts there again. The spinning rod has a little better drag system. It'll still twist the line up, where a bait caster is the best drag, the smoothest drag. It doesn't twist the line up. as bad, whatnot, to where this is entry level. But if you're on a budget or you're just starting out and want a rod and reel combo that'll work good for bigger fish plus smaller fish, something like this. Let's say you've had these and you're wanting to step up, but you don't have a lot of money, or you don't have anything and you just want to start out with a spinning rod. This right here is a combo you can buy. Abu Garcia makes it. It's called the Bruiser combo. It's got a decent sized reel on it. It's got a decent rod on it. It has a good backbone here. The tip on it's real flimsy, which if you're casting a lot of stuff like liver or stink bait, flimsy tip's not necessarily a bad thing. Just make sure it has a backbone. That way when the fish starts pulling, it doesn't bend all the way down into the handle per se. It's cheap. I think this combo here is $39 for the whole setup, and you got a decent rod and reel for catfishing. It's a little big for bass fishing, a little heavy, but for catfishing, this is a good entry level combo. It's an Abu reel, Bruiser Abu rod. It'll work great. Line, I'm pretty much partial to two lines. One in particular, catfish line that I use on almost every rod is the Berkeley Trilene Big Game. Everybody likes it. There's other stuff out there. I do not use braid on my catfish rods. I want the stretch of mono. Braid has zero stretch, which is good for seeing subtle bites. But if you're fishing catfish, you may be fishing around rocks and stumps and trees and logs and everything else, and it just frays easy, and it's just not good. Catfish will make a huge run. They can pull the hook off out of their mouth instead of the line gives you a little stretch. Like I said, mainly what I use is the 40 pound, and I got 60. When I get it in the high vis orange, but the high vis green's good too. I like to be able to see my lines, which direction they're going. Even at night, when I turn on the black lights with the orange and the green, it lights up and you can see which direction your lines are going. But that's it as far as catfish, what I really use catfishing, my basic gear and whatnot. Certain hooks, I'm a partial to Gamakatsus. I don't use anything smaller than a 6/0 catfishing. If I'm going out catching channel cat, I'll use a 6/0 circle hook from Gamakatsu. When you get into the bigger hooks, I do like the Whisker Seeker wide gap hook. When you get into the 8 and 10/0s, those are Gamakatsu is the only two hooks I really use. But that's what I use catfishing and whatnot. Like I said, this time of year, take the time, re-spool, clean your rod and reels up, get them ready. That way when spring rolls around, you want to go, you don't pick them up and go, oh no, I didn't do this. Now I got to stop and do this. Instead, you can just go fishing. Next, I'm going to talk about crappie fishing a little bit. Okay. Crappie fishing can be one of the best, funnest things you can do. If you haven't done it, you're new to it. Most people start out with just a little ultralight rod and reel. It's very inexpensive, very easy to do. Almost every body of water has some sort of panfish in it. Most city lakes even have crappie in them. And you don't need a lot of gear to catch them. It can be very inexpensive, or it can be as expensive as you want to buy. You can get very expensive with crappie rod and reels also, just like any other type of fishing. Most people use an open-faced reel. They call them spinning reels, and they use some sort of ultralight rod or light rod. This one happens to be a Shimano rod. I think it was $19 at Walmart when I bought it, and then I've got a cheap $19 Mitchell reel. So it's not real expensive. Line came with the reel. They come with line a lot of times. I prefer to change out to a different kind of line. Use as simple as a cork and a little gold hook and put a minnow on it, or a wax worm or whatnot, or you can use jigs. You get a pack of jigs fairly cheap. Beetle spins is what I started using, beetle spins. Or you can buy floats and little hooks and buy some minnows. That's on the cheap side of things. As far as lines, there's all kinds of line out there. Crappie are not a huge fish. They do get in, you can catch them in the 2-3 pound range. Though if you catch a 2 pound one, you got a good one. Most crappie you're going to catch are going to be up to that 12 inches, unless you're in an area that has better ones. Occasionally you'll catch bigger ones, but most of what you're going to catch to keep is in that 10 to 12 inch range, 9 to 12 inch range. Line for that, what I use is I like the Crappie Max line from Bass Pro. I've been using that for as long as I can remember, probably 20 years. Whenever they came out with it, I started using it. I use 10 pound or 6 pound, depending on the time of year. Usually, if I'm fishing around a lot of structure and a lot of brush, I'll go 10 pound. But if I'm fishing open water, a lot of times I'll do 6. This year for live scope, I went to a braid, mainly for fall and winter. I probably won't use braid in the spring. And it's the sniping braid. You get this from Ozark Fishing, I think is where you go to get it. If you just type in Google, type sniping braid, it's pretty inexpensive, but when you do use this on those reels, you want to make sure you put some monofilament on there first and as a backing, because if you don't, this braid will slide on the spool where monofilament doesn't. So put on about half a spool of monofilament, and you really only need to put on about, I'd say, 60-70 yards of this tops. This spool's 10 pound, and it I think there's 125 yards. Yeah, 125 yards, and it was $13. You know, inexpensive for braid, and it shows up on live scope. But that's the line that I use even now. Of course, there's all kinds. Everybody has their own line. Berkeley makes a line. Stren is the one that's been around forever that everybody's grandpa used. There's tons of line manufacturers out there. Find one you like, or try one that's recommended to you by somebody that you know, or maybe on YouTube. You get into the combos you can buy for crappie fishing. This is one my wife and I bought these for my wife, and then I used it and really liked it. As far as a smaller, shorter rod, I don't use any rods under 6 foot. I prefer like a 6.6 for casting and jigging, you know, reeling back. This is a Lose. It's the Infinity Speed Stick. They got these in orange and green and pink and all kinds of colors. Surprisingly enough, I really like this. It's a 6.6, up to a half-ounce lure weight. This says 4 to 12 pound line. This would be good too for, you know, bass fishing in a pond. Put 12 pound line on it, it'll handle it fine. It'll handle most of your smaller, you know, your mid-sized bass lures and stuff, worms, that type of stuff, no problem. But it's relatively cheap. It's got stainless eyes, so you don't have to worry about the ceramic busting in them. But keep in mind, this is like a $39 combo, so you get what you pay for. But for $39, really good, really reliable so far. This is my 3rd year with it. Then you break into your more expensive stuff, but still really affordable. This is a Cabela's. This is more of a vertical jigging rod or a long reach rod. This one's 9 foot. They make these all the way up to, I think, 14 foot. I've got some 10 and 12 footers in various name brands. But this one in particular, this is a Cabela's rod. It's their Pro Guide IM6. And then on it, I have an Ozark 500 series spinning reel. The rod, I think, was $39 for the rod, which is fairly inexpensive still. And then the reel I got at the Collinsville show. I think they're normally $29 or $19, and they had these for $10 a piece, and I bought 10 of them just so I had them. Because with my wife and I, we got about 12 different crappie rods we use. So, and over time, the cheaper stuff you'll be replacing more often. Give you an idea, this Mitchell was $19. I got it on sale at Walmart. It's an Advocate 2, I think. This reel's 8 years old. For $19 for 8 years, and it still works fine. Yeah, the paint's chipped off of it. It's dirty, a little dirty, but the drag works, the reel, it casts, it works. So, you know, unless you just want a new one, why buy another one? Using live scope, I use the B&M West Point rods in 10 and 12 foot for throwing corks on the bank in the spring. I like a 9 foot rod, 8-9 foot rod. And then for spider rigging, I'll start out with longer rods in the front, about 12 footers, 2 of them out the front, and then go 10, and then 8 foot on the sides. So, but as far as catfishing, nothing over 7.5 feet. There's no sense in it, especially in a boat. Now, if you're fishing from a bank, I could see having a 10, 12 foot rod. You get more cast length, more casting distance out of it. But out of a boat, you're just going to have somebody with a hook in them, having a big 12, 10, 12 foot rod, trying to cast it in a boat catfishing. Well, yeah, that's the gear I use. That's kind of what I do in the winter when I can't go fishing. So, try to get some fishing videos out as I can. Gonna make some trips up to Thomas Hill, I think, and go over by south of Peoria to Powerton coming up. But for the most part through winter, it's gonna be kind of hit and miss. But I'll definitely try to get some sort of video posted for you through winter until it gets warm enough and thawed out enough where I can get out on the water again. Then I'll be out on the water for sure. Remember, if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button down there at the bottom. If you want to be notified when I do post a new video, hit the bell right next to it and it'll notify you when I do post my new ones. Thanks for watching.